So Blake Lively is apparently not invited to the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding event at Madison Square Garden. And honestly, the way this whole situation has unfolded tells us more about Blake's current standing than any blind item ever could. Like Taylor Swift is hosting what appears to be the most heavily speculated about wedding celebration of the decade at Madison Square Garden. And Blake Lively is out here in New York City looking like she got sent on a weed run in an outfit that's raising more questions than answers. That's not a coincidence. That's a seating chart decision made very deliberately. And before we go any further, if you're enjoying this level of celebrity tea, hit that subscribe button and join us here at Pretty Loud. We break down these situations exactly like this every single time. So, let's talk about what's actually happening at Madison Square Garden, because the clues have been piling up for days now, and they are getting harder to ignore. We've seen the catering trucks from Cisco rolling in with lobsters and chickens, which has sent the internet into an absolute spiral about whether Taylor Swift is serving Cisco chicken nuggets at her wedding. And look, I get the jokes, but here's the reality. Most weddings and major events use large-scale food providers. You just don't usually see the trucks pull up with the branding visible. The problem here isn't the food quality. It's that this event is so publicized that we are literally tracking protein deliveries in real time. That's the level of attention this thing is getting. TMZ has been posting photos of celebrities coming in and out of hotels near Madison Square Garden. And the biggest tell that something major is happening isn't the lobster delivery, or the grand piano, or the pink couches being wheeled in. It's tree pain. When you see Taylor Swift's publicist with that signature red hair moving through New York City with the energy of someone who's directing a military operation, you know something serious is going down. The only thing missing from her hand was an actual walkie-talkie. And I'm not convinced she didn't have one in her bag. Now, I've been saying for weeks that I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce already got married privately. And what we are seeing now is essentially the performance of the wedding for the extended guest list. Taylor Swift has been dropping hints about this for months, during her album promotion for the Tortured Poets Department, and she was practically inviting every single person who interviewed her. The first major clue came when she was on the radio with Greg James, and she straight up invited him to the wedding. She said it so casually like it was obvious, and Greg's reaction was genuine shock. He asked if he was actually coming, and Taylor Swift said obviously without missing a beat. But here's where it gets interesting. I've been doing what I'll call observational research on Greg James' Instagram. And as of 2 days ago, he was very clearly at Wimbledon with his mother, the tickets, the dates, everything checked out. That was legit. And ever since then, his stories have consistently shown him in the UK. Now, could he be posting old photos to throw people off? Sure. But other celebrities have been spotted in New York without trying to hide it. So, there's no real reason for Greg James to run some elaborate misdirection campaign. If he was in New York, he'd probably just be in New York. The fact that he appears to still be in London raises the question, did Taylor Swift actually forget to invite him after telling him on air that he was coming? Or is he posting strategically to keep people guessing? Either way, it's a loose end that doesn't quite connect. Then there's Graham Norton, who has actually been spotted in New York City, and this tracks because Taylor Swift was on his show during her album promotion, and the exchange they had was fascinating. Graham asked if the next year was going to be the wedding year, and Taylor Swift's response was immediate. "Oh, you'll know." And then she clarified that he would know because she was going to invite him. The audience cheered. Graham looked genuinely delighted, and Taylor Swift explained her philosophy on wedding guest lists. She said the only stressful weddings are the ones where you have a small number of guests and people are on the bubble where you have to evaluate your relationship with everyone. Her solution: anyone she's ever talked to gets an invitation. Now, obviously that's an exaggeration, but the point she was making is clear. She'd rather have a massive wedding than deal with the politics of a small one. And that explains why Madison Square Garden actually makes sense for Taylor Swift in a way that it wouldn't for anyone else. People are confused about why she'd get married there instead of somewhere more private. But privacy isn't what she's after here. Security is. Madison Square Garden gives her a controlled environment where drones can't fly over, helicopters can't hover, and TMZ can't get the aerial shots they kill for. It's not private in the sense that nobody knows what's happening. We know about the lobsters. We know about the grand piano. We know about the pink couches. We know there was a rehearsal dinner for about 100 people followed by a main event that's reportedly going to hold 1,000 guests. 1,000 people at a wedding is massive by any standard, but for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, it actually adds up when you break down the numbers. Think about it. Travis Kelce alone has his entire network from the NFL. You can't exactly tell your future husband that his teammates and coaches and friends from the league can't come because you're Taylor Swift and you want to keep things intimate. That's not how partnerships work. And Taylor Swift has her own extensive network of collaborators, friends, and industry connections. If she's serious about inviting everyone she's ever talked to, 1,000 people starts to sound almost conservative. Plus the rehearsal dinner being smaller, at 100 people, and the main event expanding to 1,000 tracks with how these celebrity weddings typically operate. The inner circle gets the intimate gathering. Everyone else gets the big celebration. Now the other major development that dropped alongside all of this wedding speculation is that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce reportedly donated $26 million to various charitable organizations. The list includes arts programs, food support initiatives, community organizations, youth programs, and several other causes. And look, this is textbook PR strategy done right. When you're about to host a wedding that's going to cost an astronomical amount of money, and the public is going to have opinions about the extravagance of it all, you get ahead of the narrative. You make a donation so significant that anyone who tries to criticize the spending looks petty. If someone was sitting on a think piece about how much money they are wasting on this wedding, that donation makes it a lot harder to publish without looking ridiculous. Someone will inevitably say that $26 million is nothing when you have billions. But that argument falls apart the moment you ask that person what percentage of their own income they've donated lately. But let's get back to Blake Lively because this is where the situation gets genuinely puzzling. Blake Lively was spotted in New York City during all of this wedding activity, and the photos are confusing. The outfit is what I can only describe as chaotic. She appears to be wearing what looks like a macaroni necklace situation, or maybe those candy necklaces, made from the pastel twisty things that come in little bags. The hair is doing something that I can't quite categorize. There are spaghetti straps involved. It looks like she might be wearing jean shorts, but then there are socks and possibly tennis shoes. The entire look is giving someone who got sent on a very specific errand and threw on whatever was within reach. And here's the thing. Blake Lively is in New York City during the biggest celebrity wedding event of the year. And she's not at Madison Square Garden. She's not at the rehearsal dinner. She's not walking into a hotel with the other guests. She's out in the streets looking like she's running a personal mission, while everyone else is celebrating Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. If she's not making the rehearsal dinner list, she's almost certainly not making the wedding list. That's just how these things work. The rehearsal dinner is typically more intimate, more selective. If you're not in that room, you're not in the main event. This is particularly striking given the history here. Taylor Swift and Blake Lively were publicly friendly for a significant period. Blake directed one of Taylor's music videos. They appeared at events together. There were the group dinners and the squad-era photos that defined a whole period of celebrity culture. And now Blake Lively is wandering around New York City in an outfit that's generating more confusion than admiration while Taylor Swift is hosting what's being described as a massive Disney-pired wedding celebration at Madison Square Garden. That's not just a scheduling conflict. That's a deliberate exclusion. The last time we saw Blake Lively publicly in relation to any major event, the styling choices were similarly puzzling. And Ryan Reynolds has been photographed looking like he's about to walk onto the set of a crime drama. The overall energy is off in a way that's hard to articulate, but easy to recognize. When you've covered celebrity dynamics long enough, you start to notice when someone's public presentation shifts in a way that suggests things aren't quite right behind the scenes. And Blake Lively's current presentation is giving someone who's going through something that's affecting how she's moving through the world. Now, there's been some truly weird commentary circulating about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, including Megyn Kelly, and another commentator speculating about a potential divorce before the couple has even publicly confirmed they are married. That's a level of negativity that feels less like analysis and more like manifestation of something ugly. Talking about someone's hypothetical divorce during their wedding weekend isn't edgy commentary. It's just strange energy to put into the world. There are lines and that particular conversation crosses one of them. But the broader point about Taylor Swift's approach to visibility is worth examining. The criticism that she shows up at Travis Kelce's games and positions herself front and center. That she attends Knicks games and cheers like a lifelong fan despite having rooted against them weeks earlier. That she's always making sure she's seen. There's some validity to the observation that Taylor Swift understands the mechanics of attention better than almost anyone. She knows where the cameras are. She knows how to be present in a way that gets noticed. But calling that a character flaw ignores the reality that she's been operating in an industry that demands constant visibility for nearly 2 decades. At a certain point, being savvy about attention becomes second nature. The Madison Square Garden wedding, if that's what this turns out to be, is actually consistent with everything Taylor Swift has shown us about how she operates. She doesn't do small and intimate when she can do large and controlled. She doesn't hide when she can create a spectacle that she directs entirely on her own terms. Getting married at Madison Square Garden isn't about needing attention. It's about controlling the environment so completely that nothing happens she doesn't authorize. No drone shots, no long-lens paparazzi photos, no security breaches, just exactly what she wants people to see, released exactly how she wants it released. And that brings us back to Blake Lively, who is conspicuously not part of any of it. The contrast is stark. Taylor Swift is inside Madison Square Garden with 1,000 guests, a grand piano, pink couches, and a carefully orchestrated celebration. Blake Lively is outside in New York City wearing an outfit that's generating more questions than answers. Apparently not on the guest list for either the rehearsal dinner or the main event. If there was ever a visual representation of where someone stands in the celebrity ecosystem, this is it. The thing about Taylor Swift's guestless philosophy that she articulated on Graham Norton's show is that it's actually more revealing than it seems. She said she doesn't want to have to evaluate relationships and decide who makes the cut. She'd rather invite everyone and avoid the awkwardness. But that means if you're not invited, it's not because you didn't make the bubble. It's because you're not even in consideration. Blake Lively not being at this wedding isn't a borderline decision. It's a clear statement. What changed between the music video collaboration and now is something that hasn't been fully spelled out publicly, but the evidence is visible in moments like this. When you go from being in Taylor Swift's creative orbit to not making the 1,000-person wedding guest list, something shifted fundamentally. Maybe it was the public relations complications. Maybe it was personal dynamics that played out behind closed doors. Maybe it was the cumulative effect of choices that didn't align. Whatever it was, the result is Blake Lively on the outside of one of the most talked about celebrity events in recent memory. And the outfit situation isn't helping. When you're already in the narrative of being excluded, Showing up in public looking disoriented and wearing something that reads as chaotic only reinforces the perception that things aren't going well. It's not fair necessarily, but celebrity optics don't operate on fairness. They operate on narrative. And the current narrative around Blake Lively is that she's going through something while her former friend is having a fairy tale wedding celebration at Madison Square Garden. The security versus privacy distinction is crucial to understanding this whole event. Taylor Swift isn't pretending this wedding is private. She's not issuing statements asking for privacy during the special time. She's not hiding. She's securing Madison Square Garden provides a level of control that a private estate or a destination wedding never could. You can't fly a drone over Madison Square Garden without facing serious consequences. You can't sneak onto the property. You can't get a clear shot from a neighboring building. It's a fortress. And for someone who's spent her entire adult life managing public attention, a fortress is exactly what you want for an event this significant. The 1,000-person guest list also makes more sense when you consider Travis Kelce's world. NFL rosters are massive. Coaching staffs are extensive. Then there are the friendships formed over years in the league, the connections through his brother Jason, the podcast network, the brand relationships. Taylor Swift marrying an NFL star means merging two enormous social ecosystems, and trying to do that with an intimate wedding would be a political nightmare. Better to go big, invite everyone, and let the event be what it is, a celebration that acknowledges both of their worlds. The charitable donation component is smart strategy, but it's also consistent with how Taylor Swift has operated in recent years. She's made significant donations during her tour to food banks in every city she visited, to disaster relief, to various causes. The $26 million figure attached to the wedding narrative fits a pattern of using financial power to address potential criticism before it can gain traction. If you're going to spend lavishly on a wedding, pairing it with significant charitable giving changes the conversation from excess to balance. As for the pictures that will inevitably lead despite all the security, that's just the reality of any event with 1,000 guests. Someone will post something. Someone's +1 will get a shot that slips through. A crew member will capture a behind-the-scenes moment. The control isn't about preventing any images from ever emerging. It's about making sure the images that do emerge are the ones Taylor Swift wants out there on her timeline in her framing. That's the difference between security and privacy. Privacy means nothing gets out. Security means only what you authorize gets out. Blake Lively's absence from all of this will be noted by everyone who follows these dynamics closely. The internet has a long memory for celebrity friendships that appeared genuine and then quietly dissolved. The Taylor Swift Squad era created a whole framework for understanding which celebrities were in favor and which weren't. And while that era has evolved, the underlying dynamics haven't disappeared. Being excluded from a 1,000-person wedding in your own city sends a message that's impossible to misinterpret. The karma comment that's been circulating, the idea that Blake Lively is experiencing some kind of cosmic consequence, is probably oversimplifying a complex situation. Celebrity relationships shift for dozens of reasons, most of which the public never fully understands. But the visual of Blake Lively looking disheveled on the streets of New York while Taylor Swift hosts her fairy tale celebration is the kind of contrast that sticks in the public imagination. It's the kind of image that becomes shorthand for a fall from grace. Whether that's fair or not, what happens next is predictable. Photos will emerge from inside Madison Square Garden. The guest list will be analyzed down to the last +1. Every celebrity who attended will be catalogued, and every celebrity who didn't will be noted. The narrative around Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding will dominate entertainment coverage for at least a week, probably longer, and Blake Lively will have to navigate the aftermath of being visibly excluded from an event that everyone knows happened in her city while she was out running errands and an outfit that invited mockery. The Greg James situation adds another layer of intrigue if he genuinely wasn't invited after being told on air that he would be. That suggests Taylor Swift's expansive guest list philosophy might have hit some practical limitations. Even a 1,000-person wedding has its limits. When you're Taylor Swift and you've interacted with thousands of people in professional contexts, some promises made during promotional interviews might not have survived the actual planning process. That's not necessarily malicious. It's just logistics. Graham Norton being spotted in New York suggests he did make the cut, which makes sense given their longer relationship and his stature in the entertainment industry. The hierarchy of invitations always reveals something about how celebrities prioritize their relationships, and the difference between Greg James and Graham Norton is instructive. Both interviewed her during the album promotion. Both received on-air invitations. Only one appears to have actually been included. The whole situation is a masterclass in how celebrity events function as social currency. Being invited means something. Not being invited means something. Being invited but not attending means something. Being in the city but not at the event means something else entirely. Blake Lively's situation falls into that last category, and it's the most difficult one to spin positively. If you're not in town, you can always claim a scheduling conflict. If you're in town and visibly not at the event, the exclusion is undeniable. Taylor Swift has built a career on understanding exactly how these dynamics work and using them to her advantage. The Madison Square Garden wedding, if that's what this turns out to be, is the ultimate expression of her approach. Big enough to include everyone who matters, controlled enough to prevent anything she doesn't authorize, and charitable enough to deflect criticism about excess. She's not hiding. She's not apologizing. She's not pretending this is something it isn't. She's throwing exactly the wedding she wants to throw. And the guest list reflects exactly who she wants in the room. Blake Lively isn't in that room. And in the economy of celebrity relationships, that's a statement that speaks louder than any public comment ever could. The macaroni necklace outfit, the wandering around New York, the absence from every guest list that's been reported. It all adds up to someone who's on the outside of a world. She used to be very much inside. How she got there is a story that's still unfolding, but the evidence that she's there is impossible to ignore.